All right, welcome everybody to the April 16th, 2026 edition of the City of Glendale Historic Preservation Commission hearing. It is 5:07 p.m. and we are beginning at this time. Meetings are broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable, Channel 6, and AT&T Uverse, Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition on the city webpage, glendaleca.gov/live, on youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, iOS, and Android devices using a free app called Cablecast and choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also archived on the city website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. Call 818-548-4013 for program schedules. For public comments and questions during the meeting, call 818-937-8100. Public comments on a specific agenda item will be taken when that agenda item is discussed. If you have any question about matters on the agenda or requests or assistance, please contact the city clerk at 818-548-2090 during regular business hours. So for those of us in here, please turn off your phones, put them on vibrate, or just put them in airplane mode. And us, I think we already got that taken care of. And we are on, and we're going to do roll call now.
Alrighty, thank you everyone. Commissioner Bartanian?
Here.
Commissioner Cusack?
Here.
Commissioner Head?
Here.
Vice Chair Durham?
Here.
And Chair Paul?
Here.
Great, thank you so much. Let the record show there is a quorum tonight.
Wonderful, thank you. Agenda item 2, reports regarding posting of agenda. The agenda for the April 16th, 2026 regular meeting of the Glendale Historic Preservation Commission, this meeting, was posted on April 13th, 2026 on the bulletin board outside of City Hall, just FYI. Agenda item 3, approval of minutes. Do I have approval of minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay,
I second.
wonderful. All right. Minutes are approved from January 15th, 2026. Seems like it's been a really long time. I guess it's been a few months. It's good to see everybody again. Agenda item 4, oral communication. For this item, discussion is limited to items that are not a part of the agenda. So for the items that are on the agenda, those are forthcoming. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Glendale Historic Preservation Commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. So do we have any speakers for items that are not on the agenda already? Phone calls?
No calls.
You're on one of the items, Patrick? Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Now we're on to agenda item 5, board commission member comments. I think we're going to have some, we're definitely going to have something that at least a couple of us probably want to discuss. And Vice Chair Durham, I think I'm going to go ahead and introduce it, if that's okay.
Could I make an event announcement first?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Because that'll be quick.
Go ahead.
The Glendale Historic Society will have its annual home tour on May the 3rd. You can learn more about it or buy tickets from their website. And since we haven't had a meeting, I wasn't able to announce that last night at Brand Library, Arlene Veter gave a great presentation on, because this year's tour is Colonial Revival Homes, and she gave a great lecture. Unfortunately, it was last night, but it's going to be a great tour.
Wonderful. Are there any other Board or Commission member comments at this time? Okay. So I think we're going to probably, there's a couple of things I definitely want to see. I'm going to introduce an item, and then if anybody else wants to comment upon it, and then I'll have some things to say at the end. So, oh man, it's been a while. I think it was in January. There was actually an item that did not come before us, and this was to put digital billboards on the Glendale Masonic Building, which is this. I brought this building here on Brand, this sort of large, tall building, and to put a digital billboard on the north side and another digital billboard on the south side. I have a couple of exhibits that I could pass around. This was actually a city council hearing where it got discussed. And I found out about it from Commissioner Durham. I was the only person who he told. And found out about it sort of, I think, a day or two before. So it was all very last minute. And it seemed a little surprising that this didn't come before us at all. This property is listed on the National Register. And I would just like to maybe just go around and see if anybody has anything to say about that. And I think I'll start with Vice Chair Durham.
Well, one thing that really bothered me is that not only was this commission bypassed, and this city staff gave a reason for that. Basically that that they weren't required to for this particular project. But I still think they would have benefited from our input. I knew nothing about it. It had gone to Planning Commission because they were spot zoning. Basically, the digital signage ordinance applies to the Galleria and the Americana. It does not, that zone for digital signage does not go across the other side of Brand from the Americana. And so what the Planning Commission approved was spot zoning to jump across Brand and designate, 3 buildings as also in that signage zone, which would include the Masonic Temple. And I knew nothing about the Planning Commission meeting and hearing until I just happened to see it on the City Council agenda. One day, like 2 days before the City Council meeting, and that this was being proposed, and I'm like, we weren't even notified. I mean, that's when I called Daniel, and I could only call Daniel, I can only talk to one person on this commission about it because of the Brown Act. We can't, have meetings and discussions that aren't public, unless it's just one of us talking to another. So I let him know. I think Jay was on an extended vacation. Daniel and I both spoke at City Council against it. I also felt it was shoved through that night. I had noticed that Architectural Resources Group, which had prepared the report for Rick Caruso's company that owns the Masonic Temple building, I noticed that on the city website, every other page of that report was missing. So nobody had access to the full report where ARG said it met the Secretary of Interior standards. And I brought that up at the meeting saying, you shouldn't be voting on this, the council, tonight. Every other page of this report's been missing. How could anyone make a decision on it? And they scrambled during that hearing and said, oh, well, now it's on the site, the whole report. And it's like, well, I haven't seen it. I'm up here speaking to the council, and I don't have time to read that full report and put it together, and you shouldn't be voting on it tonight. And they went ahead and voted to approve it. Dan Brotman was the only council person who did not vote to approve the signage, but and the zoning change. But it was very disappointing. I thought we should at least have been notified, the members of this commission. If I had not seen it on the city council agenda, none of us would have been there. because none of us would have known about it. So I think even if we're not going to be consulted, we should always be notified when a property on the Glendale Register changes proposed, whether council is required to put it before us or not. But I think we should at least be notified that it's going on.
Any other thoughts on this matter? Commissioner Head?
Yes, I agree. I think anything involving a historic property in Glendale should trigger some sort of communication, direct communication with this commission. And so that's one thought. The other question, and I don't know if I'm jumping into this too soon. So I was curious about the revenue. So for the digital billboard, does the city get any money from that?
It was discussed at council. They will be getting a cut, but the Caruso company could not tell the city exactly how much it would be. It might be $60,000 per billboard per year. That was an estimate that was thrown out by Caruso's representative, but nothing was definite in terms of what the cut would be for the city.
Okay.
But it isn't going to solve our $25 million budget deficit problem.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Commissioner Bartini?
Did it lose its historic classification, the building? Did something change?
No, the property is not only a Glendale Register property, it's listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
Daniel, are you sure about that?
Yeah, it's National Register listed, pretty positive. You could, if you want to double check.
It's not it doesn't matter one way or the other,
Yeah.
but I just,
Go ahead. Maybe I'm happy to be corrected if that's wrong, but I'm pretty sure I remember looking at the National Register nomination.
So
on the-
what are the mechanics if you have a historic property registered both nationally and locally, and you put a digital billboard on there?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
What's the mechanics? How do you not lose the status?
Kevin, the issue was,
there's a point. This is commissioner comments. We can't have a broad discussion about fine-tuned points. I can explain some of the aspects that will answer your question. But yeah, we just have to be a little careful here. This is a perfect forum to express grievances and concerns, ask questions of staff. But the item's not on the agenda, and obviously no decisions will be made tonight. You're not in a position. The decisions have already been made, except for how much the city will make from the fee for the revenue that's generated by the signs. So go ahead. I don't want to totally interrupt. I just wanted to inject before it got too far.
Jay, can you answer Commissioner Bartini's question?
Why isn't it off the register?
Yeah, how much of it can change without having to be reconsidered?
I'll just go into what I can cover. In our code, we have very specific authority for the Historic Preservation Commission established by code in two different sections. And then we also, in Section 1520, which regulates the Glendale Register properties, we have a division of what can be approved at staff level, which is called director of CDD level, and what has to come to the commission. Among a few other thresholds that don't relate to this project, the one that's most relevant is that if something meets the Secretary of the Interior standards, it can be approved at staff level. And contrary to what Jeffrey just said, we deal with making historic property decisions many times a day, every day that we're here. You don't know about 99 point whatever % of those because we couldn't operate that way. In the case of the billboards, the ARG was hired as a consultant to Caruso Affiliated, and they produced a report that came to the conclusion that these billboards did not violate the Secretary of the Interior standards. I, as the city preservation staff person, did my independent analysis through the standards and came to the same conclusion. Now, I totally get that 4-story electronic billboards on the side of the Masonic Temple or any historic building is a change to that building. But in terms of the very specific 10 standards for rehabilitation, which are the specific set of standards that we use for our historic buildings, there is nothing that suggested that this doesn't meet the standards. It's a weird project, something that wasn't anticipated, this sort of thing, because, you know, someone wrote a letter saying it's an addition to the building. Well, if an addition to the building is under 200 square feet, we don't need to bring it to the commission. What is the square footage of this sign? I don't know how thick it is. It's a foot by 20. It's maybe 20 square feet. If you measure it the way we measure square footage, we wouldn't measure the area of the sign because we never anticipated something like this when we were writing the code. And I've been involved in all of the code revisions for many years now. And what you learn is this is the kind of situation when you go back and do a code revision, you may want to find ways to capture these unanticipated situations for the future. But in terms of today, and in terms of the decision to not come to the commission, there was no legal mechanism that required commission review. Now, as some of you know, over the years, we have sometimes brought things to the commission for advisory review so that the opinion and thoughts of the commission can be presented to whoever the decision maker is. Sometimes that's DRB, sometimes that's city council. It could be the planning commission also, but that hasn't happened while I've been around. And that is an optional decision. It's not required. At our staff level, up to the level of the assistant director, that was our recommendation. So everyone who was involved in this project knew that staff up to the assistant director and including the assistant director felt that this should come to HPC. The decision was made not to do that, and here we are. But I stand behind the idea that this does meet the standards. I cannot make that finding, and I'm pretty conservative, and I've done a lot of standards analyses before, and so it wasn't like I was trying to find a way, because I personally wish these signs weren't here. The only thought I've had is it's unfortunate that there's a Mills Act contract on this property, and it would be, I think, in the city's interest to kind of balance this situation out by talking to the Crusoe organization and seeing if they might ask to not renew their contract. The city is also in a position to, on its side, unilaterally not renew a contract with the right of appeal to the property owner. That's not something that the commission has any ability to speak to tonight. That's not a decision. Anyone in the community who's listening now, or you as individual residents of Glendale and commissioners, could speak to council members and address that issue. It's not going to make the signs go away, though. It would just kind of be a way of balancing out the situation to some degree. And but unless you have specific questions, that's really all I have to say in terms of this. And you know, no one on the preservation end of things is happy about this, but here we are.
Jay, I have one question. I still don't understand on something that, you know, this wasn't just a minor, you know, this has been on the register for 49 years. It's probably one of the most visible and frequently passed landmarks in Glendale, and particularly on Brand across from the Americana, and 20 by 40 foot digital billboards on this resource. I mean, that's not a minor thing, and I understand that it might not be required to come to this commission, but I still stand by my opinion that I think something of that nature should at least, we should be notified so that at least as individuals, we can at least speak at the other meetings for, like at the planning meeting or city council, which Daniel and I did, but only because I saw it on the agenda. But I mean, why can't we at least be notified of something this significant, this material? This isn't a little tweak to a historic property.
understood. Yeah.
Yeah, so, Jay, if I'm understanding, hypothetically, let's say there was a commercial building in Glendale that was seeking historic status and with or without a Mills Act, and the review of that application was coming to this commission, could we stipulate that the building couldn't have digital billboards?
Sounds like a spot decision, but I don't know the answer to that exactly. That's case specific. So, but we don't have really, we're kind of stepping beyond.
Yeah,
what we
this
should
is
be
more
doing.
of a curiosity.
I get your point,
Yeah.
and I don't know what the answer to that would be. If someone has a right to do something, they might have a right to be heard in a public hearing, but I don't know that the commission could stipulate that they alone, among other buildings of similar situation, don't have the same right. That wouldn't be fair. So hopefully that's it.
Okay, well, I have a couple things I want to say. So, Commissioner Durham told me about it, I think, a day or two before. It was all very last minute. I found out about this I think it was probably just the day before. It felt initially kind of upsetting that somehow something as big as a bright digital billboard on one of the most visible historic buildings on Brand was not coming in front of us. So I quickly tried to come up with some notes and, go to City Council. That was a little bit upsetting too. I was aware that we did not have the ARG technical report was missing half its pages, as I saw it online, literally an hour and a half before.
I'm sorry. The city council has voted on this. The project for the zone change has been approved. The design of the sign and the presence of the sign on the building has been approved.
Got it. I have a couple of.
City council knew that some of those pages were missing. They were actually.
I'm getting to that.
They were
Please, I'm getting to that. Let me finish.
I'm just going to help you
Thank you.
understand something by finishing what I'm saying, which is that the pages were restored to the website
Right.
earlier in the day
I
than
know.
has been presented.
I'm getting
so.
to that. So the pages, I regret that I did not, I was going to make an apology. I wish I would have called somebody at the city to say these pages seem to be missing. They were posted apparently they were posted at the very bottom of the list, and they were there. I didn't see them. So I eventually did see the full ARG report, and I read through the whole thing. And this too seemed, ARG is normally a fantastic firm. They're among the best. But even, when I was at ICF, we all have our bad days. Nobody's perfect all the time. And basically what this report did with all the pages is it compared a digital billboard to basically a 19th century version of signage, which is painted signs on buildings. And it made its case that the standards were met basically because a big sign is a big sign. And basically, for one thing, a digital billboard is a structure. According to the National Register Bulletin, I have the definition of a structure right
Daniel,
here.
we really can't continue on this for much longer.
Okay.
So please.
So give it another minute.
We can't re-litigate this.
So we're not going to
basically.
relitigate this at all, but I'm just expressing my perspective. I personally, then I'm just speaking for my opinion, I found it regrettable that the report was done the way it was done, but as Jay mentioned, it's a done deal. As Commissioner Durham mentioned, this was not brought in front of us. All we ever are, we're only advisory. You know,
No.
we're only ever, this is just an advisory commission.
That's not true. You have binding design review authority of the issues that are brought forward
Okay.
to you.
So we have some authority. It would have been very nice if this came in front of us. Council still could have chose to not agree with us. Is that correct?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so we could have discussed it. It's a big ticket item, and they could have declined that. I just want to say one last thing before I conclude. I would have been, provided some adjustments were made to these digital signs, if this came in front of us, I would have been supportive. Even though, but it didn't. There could have been adjustments made. It wasn't a black or white. It wasn't all signs or no signs. I would have been supportive if some adjustments could have been made. And it's unfortunate that, you know, I feel like in the city council meeting, Commissioner Durham and I got sort of just framed as just taking one side, period. And I only hope that in the future, something as big ticket and obvious as a digital billboard on a big building on Brand will come in front of us.
Well, that is something I can agree with you on, but it may or may not happen depending on the situation. So,
All right.
thank you.
Could I just say, I just wanted to make it clear that the city council vote, Dan Brotman was the only council member who voted against the rezoning and the billboards and made the comment that, in his opinion, the city council, even if they're not required to, should be seeking our opinion on matters like this. So I just wanted to make it clear that he was one council member who didn't support bypassing this commission.
Wonderful. Okay, are there any other board or commissioner comments? All right, we got that out of the way. Agenda item 6, is there any old business?
There's not? Oh, I'm sorry.
No old business. All right, good. On to some other things. Thank you all in the audience for your patience as we sort of processed that. So we're on to agenda item 7 now, new business. Agenda item 7A, and this is going to be for 1524 Ridgeview Drive. This is a Glendale Register nomination and Mills Act application PMA 00132025. Do we have a staff report?
We do. So we're looking at this post and beam, fine example of mid-century modernism, and it has been nominated by its owner to be put on the register and obtain a Mills Act contract with your recommendation to council. And it's a really interesting property. I just throw this aerial in to put it in a little bit of perspective. It's north of Mountain, kind of up in the lower foothills of the Verdugos. And it's kind of above, I guess, the Casa Verdugo neighborhood below in the flat areas. It's different than most of our other post and beams in terms of its sense of drama and its positioning on the site. It's supremely cool roof with the very extended eaves at the front and at the sides. The front is especially interesting in terms of its roof line. I think this photo shows it best. There may be some others coming up. It actually V's out toward the street, so it creates this kind of prow effect, which is a very dynamic structural feeling. And then you see that the structure is expressed here, not necessarily more than, but in a very clear way, and clearer than some of our other post and beam structures that are even on the register. There are many interesting specific features. We have the carport, which is original. It's got the tongue and groove siding, which is the same as the roof deck siding that you see under the eaves. So there's a simple material palette. It's basically wood and glass, some metal, and some light fixtures. Really an interesting palette of materials in its simplicity and then also dynamic in its execution. Over on the right, you can see a little bit of the stairway, the open riser stairway with the angled railings or handrails, which is really an interesting feature. And then some other shots looking up the stair, up toward the entry door. The entry door has these wood slats that you also see in the photo to the right, which is a deck facing the street. And in the previous picture over on the left side, you see the same motif of the wood, the stained wood gate and fence there. As we come around to the side, you can really see why I'm saying this is a really dramatic representation of the structural mode. You can see the prow of the roof over on the left side. And I don't measure eaves, but these may be the deepest eaves we've got on any of our mid-century buildings. I'm not positive about that. But you just see here again, the solid parts of the walls have the same vertical tongue and groove siding, lots and lots of glass, window walls at the front, sliding glass doors at the side. This gives you a little preview of the chimney, which was one of the great features of the house that you'll see in a second a little bit better. Here is the deck at the front of the house, which is an original feature. It's seen better days, and that will be part of the Mills Act condition that we're recommending in terms of repair and replacement of wood as needed. Here's a nice shot really emphasizing the eaves. The other side of the house is so close to the property line, it's really hard to see, so we don't have good photos of that. But it's got similar, I don't think the eaves project quite as much because here they're sheltering the indoor-outdoor use of the house, which is such a key characteristic of this period in this style. Here's the great chimney. The flue of the chimney is circular, and actually on the outside of the house, the hearth, the firebox, penetrates through the glass wall, so again, indoor-outdoor in a really visible way. And what's particularly cool is it's hard to make out, but the area above the firebox, where the fireplace is on the inside, there's a piece of sheet glass running across the top of that. So when you're inside the living room, when you look out that window, you're seeing trees and sky and outside stuff, but you're also seeing the round chimney coming down. So again, something very dynamic happening in this design. Here's the back of the house. The left part, the lower part in the center of the image is part of the original house. And then there's a smaller, about 250 square foot addition that's put at the back of the house that was designed by Frederick Fisher, which is really nice. If you had a chance to visit the house, that's a very nice space. So it's Fred Fisher is one of the key LA third generation modernists, I guess. And so it's kind of cool. It's the only work we know of that he did in Glendale besides the Grand Central Air Terminal, which you wouldn't think of as a Fred Fisher project, but it is. But it was a full-on restoration rather than a new construction design. The house was designed by two talented architects who we don't know tons about. George Bissell and William Duquette paired up for just a few years. They had started as independent architects, paired up for Bissell and Duquette, separated, went their different ways. Both of them were very involved in the architecture profession. Both of them were involved in different chapters of the AIA. George Bissell became the president, I think, of the California AIA. And so I don't know if it's a reward for being active, but they're both fellows of the AIA, FAIA, which not every architect gets to have next to their name. We don't know too much about their earlier works, but I found a few that have images. Some of them are gone, or I couldn't figure out what I was really seeing. But this is Duquette's house that he designed for himself before they joined forces. Look at the chimney. Something happening there that's similar to the Conway house on Ridgeview. But you see another nice, very nice example of post and beam modernism, and this one's in Pasadena. Together they did the Currier House, which is in La Cañada, and you can see here a different look, the use of flagstone, but similar kind of long horizontal lines, emphasized roof lines, really quite beautiful. This is going to be a key. The next slide change is going to say, this is why we all do what we do. This is why we do historic preservation, because this is what the Currier House looks like today. So sorry to make everyone sad, but we lose things when we can't protect them. And La Cañada doesn't have any kind of preservation mechanisms. And, some people prefer this probably, but it's For some of us, it's a sad change. I'm not even sure if the original house is in here or if it was a tear down and a rebuild. I can't really tell. They also did the Saga Motel across the street from Disneyland. In fact, this postcard view is right across from the old entrance. So anyone old enough to remember that sign obviously would miss that sign. There's the Matterhorn in the center. And you can see it's kind of prosaic toward the back. It had some groovy looking stuff happening at the front. But I went to see if there was anything left of it. And it's hard to tell. In the lower left image, you can see that a tall building was built at the front area, so that's completely obliterated. Some of the lower buildings may be remodeled versions of the motel-looking two-story pieces. But what I was excited to see was the pool is still intact. So you can see the pool in the rendering at the top right and the pool in the aerial below. So, count our blessings for these little things. But anyway, here's some glamour shots of the Conway house. Oh, I forgot to mention the house was built for Mr. and Mrs. Conway. The research did not turn up anything significant about them. So per the naming protocol for the commission, we are naming houses after the first owners of the house, even if they weren't individually or together significant in history. So we have a couple of issues to think about in terms of the Mills Act and even the designation. And one of those, I wasn't hiding this, but I wanted you to soak in the house before we came back to the front. This room above the carport is an addition from 1986. And we've had trouble with additions in the past when we are considering Glendale Register designations. And this is front and center, so it is something that we have to think about, you as a commission has to think about, I should say. What the engineer who designed this and built it did was basically reiterate the window wall pattern on the right side of the house and bring it to the left. I'd seen this house multiple times over the years, never once thought anything was going on here. I just thought, what a great house. And then we learned, okay, there was originally a larger deck here. So this was an open deck. The views to the south are really, really nice, especially if the pine trees aren't as big as they are today. And that was probably an amenity that was part of the architect's decision to keep that open. Obviously, a previous owner made the decision to infill that. I think they did it in a very admirable and thoughtful way. Seamless. Too seamless? That's a decision that the commission will have to consider. I do think that the sliding window does detract from this. So if the commission were inclined to kind of accept this as a change that happens to modern properties, and we've designated lots of properties that have alterations at the rear, in fact, larger additions at the rear than this. Usually we don't see them at the front. But if you're inclined to think like because of the way this was done and the way it reads with the rest of the house, I see a possibility of removing that window, putting in a full glass pane, really keeping the balance between the old and the new. Although some could say, well, this window's the giveaway that this is, a change, but it could also just be a window that had been added at a later date. So this is food for thought, and it'll be interesting to hear your discussion about that. Staff is supporting the nomination despite this, but wants to make, just full disclosure that it's there. The other Mills Act condition is to look at this deck, and the owner, I don't know if the work has already begun or he's planning to do this already. So this was before we showed up to look at it. It was clear that there were problems here. So the Mills Act will be beneficial for taking care of that. Otherwise, the house is in excellent condition. Otherwise, the house has super high integrity. And the Fred Fisher addition at the back is a very nice addition as these things go, and it's completely invisible to anyone. Even in the garden, you wouldn't see it. You have to walk around the back of the house pretty much to get there. I just also wanted to call your attention to the fact that while we were talking with Mr. McIntyre about this designation, he was having incredible roof problems. There were all kinds of, and he can address this better, but there were lots of penetrations that have been put in the roof over the years, some skylight type things, lots of leaks. So he put a new roof on, and I think did a really excellent job and a really thoughtful job, because you can see these photos are taken from kind of high up. If you were closer down on the ground, you're not going to see some of this. But if you notice the raised kind of rectangular portions that are maybe 5 or 6 inches thick, it looks like, that's insulation, because you can't insulate these post and beam houses where the roof deck is the ceiling, and there's no insulation possible there. You recently saw another post and beam last year on street I'm not remembering, but it had really cool kind of concrete block near the entrance. And the owner, we discussed this at the hearing, he had hired people to put a new sprayed roof on, and it came out not great. He has since had that pulled back and sent us pictures, and this was part of your discussion. His roof looks much better. But I would say that this solution with a more rigid insulation rather than a sprayed-on insulation is much more aesthetically pleasing and compatible with the original design, but helps bring the house up to higher efficiency and modernization. So there's no Mills Act condition for this. I just wanted you to know this was part of our discussion. And it's not uncommon for people, because it takes several months to get through the process, and some people need to get their work done quicker than that. So we help guide them through this with work that we think meets the standards and hopefully meets with the commission's approval. But there you have it, and I'm not sure, maybe you saw it if you had a chance to visit. I'm not sure about that. Anyways, we think that the house does meet our eligibility standard under Criterion 3. It has many distinctive and exemplary characteristics of mid-century modernism, and specifically of post and beam construction. And we can look at design and method of construction under that criterion. And we have the 2 Mills Act conditions that I just mentioned. And I'm curious and interested to hear your discussion.
All right, thank you so much. Before I open up the public comment portion of this, are there any questions for staff? Commissioner Durham.
Jay, in addition to the sliding glass window at the front, the staff report mentions we might consider putting a window in the side wall of that addition. Am I understanding?
Yeah, I put that in there anticipating that that could be an issue for Mr. McIntyre. I think we had talked about that a little, but I'm not sure if it's needed. The house is conditioned, but that room, this is the only source of open ventilation for that room. And looking at this, since we know that the right-hand wall is not an original wall, though it matches all the original tongue and groove kind of woodwork there, possibly that could be a location to introduce a window if you did think that it was worth considering removing this one. You should have that discussion with Mr. McIntyre, though.
Which side wall are you talking about?
Well, the right side wall is the new.
Right from, as we're looking at it here?
Yeah, the right one next to the stairs is the one that was built when this room was kind of added. I'm presuming, but I don't know for sure, that the left wall may be part of the original structure, just looking at it. It could also be an opportunity for a window there. Both of them wouldn't be noticeable from the street so much. The one on the right would certainly be much less noticeable. So.
Okay.
But that would be for ventilation purposes rather than design.
Yeah, for the
There's
design,
nothing about that.
if you think this addition is okay, obviously Bissell and Duquette wanted to have this module. And what's interesting about the location of that horizontal mullion is if you extended that out, it comes down to the plate height of where the eaves touch the sidewalls. So it's a very well-considered, thoughtful design. And so the engineer who designed this obviously took that line and just ran with it as a datum line, which makes sense. And so the only problem here is the interruption of the rectangular glass panels kind of marching across that area.
But there's nothing about that solid wall on the addition near the staircase that is an issue. I mean, it's not to try to open
I
up that
would
wall.
think, yeah, and this is only if Mr. McIntyre said, I really need that window,
Okay.
and only if you are interested in considering this addition as part of the historic designation, so.
Oh, thanks for clarifying that.
Commissioner Cusack, did you have a question?
I think I understand. You're saying that if necessary, there could be a window added for ventilation on the sidewalls if we determine that the front glass needs to be made a solid panel.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, if you thought that would enhance the desirability of the designation for any reason, or the Mills Act. So I threw that in just as an option, which I do every so often. It's not super common, but
Okay.
I thought it would be an issue possibly.
And I'm pretty sure, just so I'm clear, the sliding window is the third one over that's kind of split down the middle, right? Is that the sliding window? Okay.
Yes.
And this addition, this front addition here was not done by Fred Fisher. It was,
This was done by an engineer whose name escapes me, but I
Okay.
can find it if you need.
Fred Fisher did the amazing 1980 era bathroom in the back, right? Okay. All right. Any other, before I open it up, are there any other questions for staff? Okay. Okay, we have a couple of speaker cards on this item. First up, I'm going to invite the property owner, Mr. McIntyre, if you want to come up and say a few words. Give you 5 minutes if you need it.
Well, thank you very
Just
much.
say your name, please.
I'm Tom McIntyre.
Okay.
I live in the property on Ridgeview Drive, and I've had the pleasure of living there for 20 years. And as I have been growing up with the house and enjoying the house every day I get to be in it, I realized that there was going to come a day when it would become someone else's home. And to avoid what we saw in the slide in La Cañada, I decided that it would be prudent to have it approved by the Planning Commission and you all folks to protect that property for the rest of its life and not let somebody walk in and knock it down or change it. If it helps, the wall on the right where we might consider putting a ventilating window is one of the more beautiful and seamless and matching wall to the one on the opposite side of the staircase. And I assure you that I won't make a hole in that wall for even if I'm choking, needing fresh air. But predominantly, I'm hopeful that that you agree that perhaps the property has merit and that you've seen it. And I hope you enjoyed your tour, and I hope that you'll consider it for preservation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have one other speaker on this item, and that is Mr. Simon Wright. State your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm Simon Wright. I'm on the board of the Glendale Historical Society and a member of the Preservation Action Committee. The Historical Society supports staff's recommendations to the Commission that it recommend to the City Council that 524 Ridgeview Drive be listed on the Glendale Register of Historic Resources as the Conway House, subject to the proposed Mills Act conditions. We think that 1524 Ridgeview is a great example of modern style architecture, and the applicant, Mr. McIntyre, was generous enough to agree to feature this home on the Mad for Modern home tour that the Glendale Historical Society put on, and it was very much appreciated by the guests who took the tour. We accept that there is always a tension when a property has been modified between whether a modification that looks extraordinarily similar to the original architecture is the way to go, or whether there should be a very clear definition that this is an addition and the rest is an original part of the house. But we think, as I believe staff does, that there is enough quality in this house to merit its preservation. We're very grateful to the homeowner for his commitment to the preservation of this property, and we thank staff for another excellent and clear report. They pointed out very clearly what some of the issues might be, We very much hope that the Commission gets beyond them, and we thank you very much for your service.
Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Before I close the public hearing, do we have any questions for the property owner? Anything at all? Yes.
You use that front window? Like you open
Oh,
it
come
for
up here.
ventilation?
You could, answer into the mic.
I do. There's an exhaust fan at the back of the house, and on a day that's been pretty hot, and after the sun goes down and it begins to cool, I'll open that front window and close everything else and turn on the fan in the back, and it will pull fresh air all the way through the house until everything comes to temperature. So I do use it, and however, there may be another way to obtain ventilation and still have a solid pane of glass in there. There's a possibility that I could make like a 1-inch all the way across on all 4 windows and have some small sliding device. I mean, I think it could be done very tastefully. It might be expensive, but I would be able to have ventilation, but I do use that, yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right. Okay. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing. I guess we'll open it up for discussion. What are your thoughts on this house?
Well, it's beautiful, and I definitely think it's worth preserving. Just to open it up. I think I mentioned this to the homeowners, but on both these houses, just on a personal level, I choked up a little bit because my grandma's home was exactly in this style. It was a beautiful post and beam modern home that she bought. She was the first owner, and she was an interior designer, so it was in the same style, and it burned in the Palisades fire. So just on a personal level, I love being a part of preserving this.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment about part of a conversation I had with the homeowner about Duquette. And I don't know if you know, but the owner has the original blueprints and drawings for the house, which is exceptional in itself. But the homeowner some time ago reached out to Duquette about the house and had a conversation that basically when Duquette moved from Pasadena to Northern California to it was either Menlo Park or Palo Alto.
Los Gatos, maybe? Los Gatos, I can't remember.
Yes, that's right. It was Los Gatos because he went up to teach architecture, and when they made the move, Duquette threw out his archive. So materials related to his architecture are really hard to find. And just as I'll leave it at that. So I'm glad that those materials are intact with the house as well.
And when I went to the site visit, I ran into you as I was leaving, and you mentioned that you knew some of Conway's sons.
Yeah, I was in Boy Scouts with the youngest son.
Awesome. Go ahead, Commissioner Bartini.
Yeah,
No, I think it's an
Jeffrey,
excellent candidate, supportive of the project.
Sorry.
The window at the entrance, I see everyone's point, but it doesn't really bother me because it just kind of works and useful, and I didn't feel it was intrusive when I visited the site. I didn't feel like it was out of place, so that doesn't really bother me too much.
I have a question. Sorry, I didn't think about this earlier. I have a question for the property owner. If you could come back up, it'll be quick. Would you mentioned another possibility for a window there. Would you, if the Mills Act assisted with that other window, would your preference be for another type of window there, or are you fine with the window that you have there now?
Well, the window has actually been there longer than the original window was there, or the original deck was there by almost double.
Got it.
I haven't really been offended by it. I do see it, and I do say that could have been done differently. But honestly, I really, for the longest time, I wasn't aware that that part of the house was an addition. I didn't know that until I saw another picture of another Duquette house that had a big patio up there, and I went and stood out on that deck by the front door, and I said, you know what? I think this was open at one point. So to me, it was so seamless, and all the materials were exactly the same materials that had been used throughout the rest of the house. I mean, there is just no real clue, except for a small walkway that, rather than go down the stairs to say goodbye to guests, I'll walk out on that gangplank and say my goodbyes. So I find it useful and not obtrusive. I mean, to the point where, you know, there's texture in some of those vertical panels on the exterior of the house, and I've been wanting to repaint certain parts of it, and I've been afraid to do so in some cases because that texture may get filled with paint, and then it wouldn't have the character that it has today. And so I'm doing a lot of research to see how I can do this and keep it the way it is, very faithfully. If the window has to go, I can find another way to do that I think could be very tasteful, and I just have to give it a little more thought and do some research and see, but I'm not sure that it's not super high on my priority list. The roof addition and the not only does the roof appear visually similar to the roof that was on it originally, it was a white roof, so we made it white. And the big characteristic of the roof is its fire safety. And we did this after the fires in Altadena and Brentwood and so on and so forth, and I felt that I owed it to the house not only to protect the interior of the house from water damage, but to protect the entire structure from fire. So there were a lot of decisions that had to be made there. We made it as faithful as we could, and so that's that's pretty much the direction that I've headed with the house. I'm trying to keep it as nearly perfect as I can.
Got it. Okay, excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Well, I mean, I agree with all of you. I think this house is splendid, and Fred Fisher, in his own right, is a pretty significant architect. He was one of the very early graduates of SciArc. He is a very important figure in what was called Santa Monica School Postmodernism or Los Angeles School Postmodernism. If that bathroom addition was done in 1980, that would put it as one of his very first works. I think he did a house called the Kaplan House for one of the owners of Wet Magazine, which was a great West Coast, West Side culture magazine. And I think that house was 1979. We had a Los Angeles Conservancy Modern Committee or LA Conservancy event in 2011 on postmodernism. And I moderated a panel with Fred on it, so I've known him a long time. And so I think, just in terms of, since we're having the discussion, I don't see the window as a big issue at all. And Jay actually mentioned that maybe in one sense it sort of serves as the differentiation. I understand. I go back and forth on the standards. I think one of the standards talks about compatible but differentiated. And I feel like in some preservation projects in the past, I've seen that done very awkwardly, where they've tried almost too hard to be differentiated and something just doesn't seem right. I feel like with this, it was done so seamlessly that I feel like this was done with a certain amount of thoughtfulness. I think thoughtfulness was the intention here. I don't see that addition as a major problem, and even in terms of the integrity of the house. The integrity may not be mint because of that or perfect, but it doesn't need to be in order to be a landmark. So I don't really see too many problems at all with that addition as it is, or the sliding door. The deck, of course, I think it's great that the deck is going to get some attention in this. Jay, was there an item for the roof in the Mills Act? Is there anything that still needs to be done on the roof?
I just wanted you to know that that was recent work that was guided with the anticipation of coming to the hearing.
Okay. And is the roof finished?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think this house it seems like in the neighborhood, the Glendale Historical Society, I mean, there appears to be quite a consensus that this house is something special for Glendale, and I support that.
One fun thing that I didn't mention, but may as well, if you see in this image the rubble stone wall next to the driveway, that actually wraps and runs across the entire front of the property and continues down the street, and there's some more stone wall going up the street, uphill. We just met with our consultants for the East-West Glendale survey, which includes this street and this house, obviously, and we highlighted that these stone walls are things that we would like to see discussed in the survey so we can protect them. Similar to what we did in North Glendale, where we heard from the community years ago when we did the North Glendale Community Plan that the stonework was a really important historical and memory feature of the Crescenta Valley. So we've worked with many property owners now to kind of maintain as much of those walls up north. So this will give us a chance to do it in the lower part of Glendale. So
it's fantastic, and it's a very good catch to have that eye for detail. And I could speak as somebody who lives in the upper part of Glendale, in the La Crescenta part, that those boulders are everywhere, and they are definitely a primary character defining feature of the Crescenta Valley. So. Yes, Commissioner Head.
I have a question about going back to the window. I would like it to be a solid panel, but if we were to vote on it not changing and leaving it as is, could the homeowner at some future date decide to make it a solid panel?
I don't see why not. It would be great if you gave direction on that, because this is, there's some questions about this area. Going back to what Daniel just said, if this were an original feature, let's just pretend, and someone came and said, I want to put this slider window in there, I would not approve that. I don't know what Ani would do, but one thought I had when I went to the site is, could this be a hopper window? Could it be modified to bring in ventilation, but then it wouldn't have a screen? And obviously there's a screen on it now, and that might be desirable. I was thinking that the left-hand wall over the little court area on the left side of the image, which I think is an original wall, but could that be a location for a new ventilation opening? But yeah, anytime in the future when people come to us, we would say, now that this is designated, does this move the goals of this designation forward? Does it enhance the things that we're trying to protect? So I would think that we would be open to replacing that in the future if it came up. So.
And I don't know if we're ready to talk about the deck and the rail.
Go ahead.
No? Can we talk about the material, the planned material replacement? Maybe Tom, you can.
Or is that deck original? Is that
Yeah, it's original.
It's an original
the
feature.
woodwork
so
is the same as the woodwork on the screens and at the front door.
So would there be a recommendation on the type of material, or would it just be a straight across replacement?
I think enough of it's okay, and you can ask the owner, but I'm not sure if he knows at this point. It's a future project. But what I wrote in the condition in the discussion and following the secretary standards, we would retain what's possible to retain, and we would replace anything that's too deteriorated to repair. We would probably try to use the same type of wood, which looks like it's redwood or maybe cedar, I don't know, but probably redwood. And so that would be the direction we would go for any work that's proposed.
Okay, so
And if I can just remind the commission, because I always forget this, in your final vote, if you're approving this and a Mills Act recommendation, please give us a timeline for the repairs. We've kind of forgotten that a few times and have to backtrack, so.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a question, or we wouldn't be suggesting, recommending like a composite material? It would-
No, we wouldn't. Yeah, no, well, I shouldn't say that, only because with fire regulations changing regularly, what are we going to do with a house like this? These eaves are going to be looked at as an issue. So I don't know what's going to come based on this being in the very high fire zone. But for now, we would not want to recommend a composite material for the deck. The house has bigger issues than just whatever the material is on the deck in terms of fire.
May I comment?
Sure.
We replaced the deck in the back of the house outside the kitchen. And my goal, assuming that sap from the tree had darkened that wood, and we also noticed on the front deck that some of that is being consumed by some of the friendly creatures that live under the soil. And so my goal is to have all the woodwork on the exterior, all the decks and anything that's now wood, to match the front door. It's a color almost like the color that's surrounding you here. And it's an original color for a lot of the woodwork in and around the house, and my goal has been to match that and to have it be finely finished wood. So it's not going to be composite. Everything's going to be in keeping with the original architecture.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Durham.
Well, I love the house. It's really incredible when you visit it. And I want to thank the owner for inviting us inside, because it was really a treat. I mean, not that's in our purview, but being able to, in the living room where there's a glass pane over the fireplace, and that fireplace box is pretty massive, and then there's glass over it, so it sort of floats, and you can see the round chimney going up through the roof. It's just really quite remarkable. And Frederick Fisher is such a great LA architect, and the rear addition that he designed is incredible, and it just really integrates well with the house. I'm not that concerned about the window in front. I can go either way, depending on how the rest of the commissioners feel. But it's really quite an extraordinary example. And the fact that it's had the front addition, I think it's so well integrated with the rest of the house. And it's really the thing you see from the street. To me, it's perfectly acceptable because it's so well integrated into the design of the house.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Durham on this point. I almost wonder if this engineer, the vertical line in that sliding glass window, it kind of reiterates the vertical lines below it to the right of the garage. The whole thing seems like very well composed, almost like a Mondrian. And I would be a little bit concerned. I would almost be a little bit concerned if that was a plain window there. I think it worked. I feel like there must have been a lot of thought put into small details on this. We see a lot of additions where there's not a lot of thought put into the additions. They were just done as quickly and cheaply as possible. This seems like whoever this engineer was trying. And I also am not, I don't think the window's a big issue, in part because I would almost worry more about the potential for a new window on either side to, I mean, it would go through staff and you would be in fantastic hands with staff, but I feel like what's there now is maybe not perfect, but I would also, I don't think it's worth the risk of having to recontemplate or think about a new window somewhere else when the integrity of the house is present now. It's not like the integrity is borderline. And I'm going to, I mean, my opinion is just to let the window stay as it is. I do like what you're saying, though, if in the future, if either this owner or some other owner wanted to have a plain window there, a fixed full height window, that's their prerogative, and that could probably happen.
And just to throw this out, we have a pretty low bar for bringing things to the commission for Mills Act properties, despite the earlier discussion. So that would likely be brought to the
Yeah.
commission whenever it happened in the future.
Yeah, and so I actually like this. I think that vertical line, I mean, this sounds a little like extreme to say, but and I'm sure, I don't know, I doubt the engineer was thinking this way, but it almost adds a little bit of play to the composition that I kind of like. For the function, I think it's a pretty good bargain for the function it provides. It has a screen, it provides ventilation. As Jay mentioned, a hopper window could be interesting, but then you wouldn't have a screen. I know one thing about living in Glendale, sometimes we get mosquitoes or other little creatures coming into the house. So I think my preference is going to be to leave this window as it is. Commissioner Cusack?
Yeah, I'm tending to agree. I think when I first saw that window, it bothered me. And then the more I looked at it, the more I loved the whimsy of it, like you were talking about, and the lines. But I also agree with leaving that open for future decisions. And I do kind of like the idea of it standing there to say that this is an addition, like that it's sort of recognizable as an addition, but a very well done, interesting one.
Okay. And then in terms of the timeline for the deck, 1 year.
That's what I would recommend.
Okay. All right.
Nodding. Is that okay? We can't ask you to come up yet.
Sure.
Okay.
I think I can do it in a year.
Okay. Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. But before I do, can we just, with Kevin and Jeffrey, I agree with you and Lisa that that front window isn't something that I want to make a condition that has to be replaced at this point. But are you still?
I'm good with it being open to future change. Yeah, that's.
So,
Excuse me.
we will not require that as a condition. Is that correct? Is everybody?
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yes. Pardon me.
Okay.
I'm not contagious. It's allergies. Yes.
So as long as that's clear that, because it's listed as a condition on the staff report, but we will not
I think
include
I
that.
used the word consider carefully there to, yeah.
So therefore, we're not going to,
No. So
When
you-
I
in
say
your
we're-
motion, you can recommend that it's recommending to council that it's listed in the Glendale Register and that they approve a Mills Act contract with the condition number 1 regarding the front deck.
okay. So I'd like to move that this commission recommend to City Council that the property at 1524 Ridgeview Drive be listed in the Glendale Register of Historic Resources and to be known as the Conway House, because it appears to be eligible under Criterion 3 as a distinctive and exemplary example of the modern style. I also move that this commission recommend that City Council authorize the city manager to enter into a mills contract with the property owner, including condition number 1 noted in the report with respect to repair and partial replacement, if necessary, of the wood deck and railing.
Do I have a second?
Sure. I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Okay, roll call. Commissioner Head,
Yes.
Commissioner Cusack,
Yes.
Commissioner Durham,
Yes.
Commissioner Bartanian,
Yes.
Chair Paul,
Yes.
unanimous.
Great. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
1 year.
Good job. And I just want to say, congratulations to you, Mr. McIntyre. And I think all the work you've already done on the house is so commendable. It really is outstanding. And as Commissioner Durham mentioned earlier, to be inside that house, were you both able to go inside? It was just
Spectacular.
It's wonderful. It was just really, really spectacular. So, so I have one quick question for staff, Ani or Jay. Just really quickly on this subject, Commissioner Durham's motion was excellent, but we talked about, the motion mentioned this as a modern house. Will whatever goes into the motion, if there's a plaque or some other recognition for this, I feel like the design of this house is more specifically like a contemporary style house. I mean, that's splitting hairs, but
We don't use that word.
we don't use it.
Contemporary is an infinite sliding scale of a word. It doesn't mean anything timeline-wise.
Oh, we use it all the time for a certain type of ranch house that's very like an Eichler.
That's fine.
Okay.
People have differences of opinion, but I'm a strong believer in not using the word
Okay,
contemporary.
that's fine. Then we don't have to go. We don't have to go to it.
We generally, with our plaques, we just actually did one for another post and beam that was designated a while ago, and we mentioned that it's example of modern style architecture and specifically post and beam
Got it.
construction. So we hit both of those angles.
Okay,
So-
that's fine. I just wanted
I
to be sure.
appreciate the thought, but it's something we've discussed a lot in-house here, and I've developed a very strong opinion, obviously.
No problem. No problem. No, Commissioner Durham, your motion was excellent. Okay, wonderful. I think we are done with. Let's see here. We are finished with agenda item 7A, and now we are going to move to agenda item 7B under new business. This is 1437 Hillside Drive. This is a Glendale Register nomination and Mills Act application, PMA 0016-2026. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Chair Paul. So today I will be presenting the PowerPoint presentation for 1437 Hillside Drive. It is a Glendale Register nomination and Mills Act application for this property. It is located in North Glendale in the Verdugo Woodlands neighborhood. It's on a flag lot that is upsloped on the north side of Hillside Drive. Please excuse my very elementary rectangles here. I tried to just give an idea of where the driveway is leading to the property behind another residence in the front. So I'll get into some of the architecture in a little bit, but first I do want to talk about the architect, and we are very lucky because we don't usually in the city of Glendale have the name of the architect listed on permits, but in this case we were lucky that we actually have the name of the architect, Charles W. Wong, listed on the permit. He was also a member of the AIA. He is recognized as one of the pioneers of Los Angeles modernist architecture. He was born in Guangzhou, China on July 21st, 1929. He settled in Los Angeles after immigrating from China in the 1930s, and he graduated from the USC School of Architecture in 1951. After he graduated from the School of Architecture, he worked as an architect and a designer for many different firms before he opened his own in 1955. He joined the American Institute of Architects in 1957 and was very active until his passing in 2019. He was actually very well known for not just residential buildings, but he also did commercial, social buildings in Southern California, and in the city of Glendale. He actually, I think there were a lot of changes done to this, so it's not in the presentation, but there was auto dealership building that he designed. I'm not going to get into that because we're also strictly focusing on the residential. But you can see in some of these different examples that there's this split level configuration to some of his houses, these very geometric floor-to-ceiling glass windows, a lot of great features that are very typical of the post and beam architecture of this time. And he also was incorporating a lot of Japanese-inspired elements in some of the modern architecture that he was designing. The property was designed for the Velarde family. Carlos Velarde was born in 1929 in Los Angeles, California. In 1950, you guys know I love cute stories, so I have to mention this. He met the love of his life at a Clifton cafeteria bar and dance in 1950. When was it? 1950. And so 2 years later, they got married, and he shortly after that, he joined the U.S. Army, and after completing his service, he graduated from Cal State LA and then received his law degree from USC in 1959. And he was appointed to the East LA Municipal Court in 1969, and eventually, after excelling in his career, he was elevated to the LA Superior Court. And he actually was very active in law and as a judge until the age of 85 when he retired. And then he passed away in 2018. His wife, Alice Velarde, and this is a beautiful family photo of them, continued to live in the house until she sold it in 2023. Now, to talk a little bit more about the style of the house, so it is a post and beam wood construction. It gained popularity in the post-war era. The primary living quarters is situated atop this two-car carport. You can see in this photo that there is a set of stairs that leads up to a small deck, which is where you find the primary entrance. And one of the features of this style of architecture is oftentimes the front entry is a little bit recessed or is a little bit hard to find. So you see the primary massing and the balance between different types of material. Over here we can see the floor-to-ceiling glass panels, the tongue and groove siding. And this angle kind of gives you a better perspective of that entry deck and the front entrance. And here you can really see, again, that blend of indoor-outdoor space and how the exposed beams really pierce through the primary living space and really blend that in. Sliding glass doors also provide another access into that entry deck, even though that's not the primary entrance. We'll take a look at the primary entrance in another moment. Over here is the rear elevation with another sliding glass door that leads to a deck that was added at a later time. We'll look at that once we get to the alteration section. But for now, you can see the overhanging eaves with that tongue and groove wood decking that is underneath the roof. And it has a very dramatic sloped curve, and it has this open pergola where you can kind of see the beams piercing through. And this photo is actually great because it shows that the windows kind of hug the corners of the property, kind of done intentionally, especially coupled with that open pergola, in order to allow for natural light to flow through the living quarters. And also they get incredible views of the landscaping and the mountain outside of the house. So again, one of those concepts that blends the indoor-outdoor space together and really takes into consideration not just the sloping of the site, but also the natural landscape. This is the side elevation. So I will point this out later, but there have been a couple of additions done to the house. They are very modest in size and kind of tucked away. I will have some very elementary rectangular shapes to point them out in just a moment. This is the south side of the elevation with the brick chimney as well as the edge of the carport that you can see here. It's kind of hard to see in photograph. That's why we have these vertical ones instead of a full shot. And so some of the more interesting architectural details, like I mentioned, you have the simple solid slab door, very modernist, very simple in design, located right off of the sliding glass doors that provides entry into the living space. We also have this really interesting textured glass panels that do also provide some light into the interior space and also breaks up the wood tongue and groove siding. I looked at the open pergola, but one of the very beautiful and thoughtful features of this property that blends in the rest of the elements of the house is the wood railing that is used. It has this these alternating thicknesses of wood posts that really creates a harmony with the very rectangular and geometric shape of the rest of the panels of the glass and the wood. The property also has a guest house, which was added in 1969 in a very complimentary mid-20th century modern style. It also features a very similar dramatic overhanging eave. It has exposed beams. It has the original light fixtures on this property, and it also does a really great job of integrating interior and exterior space. It takes some element cues from the primary residence, but as you can see, the wood decking on this one is a little bit more simple. It is differentiated from the primary residence. The roof line for this one, which I think this photo exhibits much better than probably the other one, is that this is a shed roof. Again, a very typical style, roofing style that you would have found at the time. So it doesn't exactly mimic and try to make a direct copy like a mini-me of the primary residence with its low-sloped dramatic gable roof. But does a very good job of incorporating a lot of the mid-century modern styles to make it seem like a cohesive addition to the primary residence. I promised you guys rectangles, and here they are. So we do have a couple of additions done to this house. The first one that I'll talk about is a laundry room that was added in 1964. It's very small. It's actually accessed through a separate door, which you can see in this photo. And so it's tucked beneath the primary residence. The other one is a 85 square foot family room that was added at the rear, and it has that deck above it, which we looked at, that had a sliding glass door leading to that space. And so this area, again, it's kind of tucked underneath. It was already existing space that they just kind of carved out. It's not like they created a whole new massing. It's just the deck over it, and the wood railing was added. So it's done very modestly, really, unless like you're kind of looking at it. It's kind of even hard to tell, but there is enough differentiating qualities to make it appear that it is an addition, including the windows. I think the windows kind of give it away. We do have some recommendations for this property. One of them is that the material that is used for the decking, which was probably done at a later time, as well as the staircases and the front entry deck, it's not necessarily compatible with this style of house, so staff recommends that the commission considers a condition to replace these tiles with something that's going to be more compatible with the architectural style of the house. Two other conditions to note: there is a very modern light fixture that is located right above the entry as you're entering that front deck. Staff is recommending that the commission considers a condition to maybe replace that with something that is a little bit more compatible with the mid-century modern style. And finally, as you can see in this photo of that open pergola, the exposed beams all have a metal cap on it, which is a protective measure in order to protected from any potential water damage. The central pergola beam does not have a metal cap like that, and as a preventative measure for any potential water damage, staff recommends maybe adding a metal cap and doing it in a way that it's inconspicuous, blends in, as you can see with the other ones, so that it's a protective measure. So despite those additions, staff finds the property eligible for listing in the Glendale Register under Criterion 3 because of its many distinctive and exemplary characteristics of the mid-20th century modern style. It also uses the post and beam construction method, and it is also a work by a notable architect, Charles W. Wong, we are recommending naming the house as, according to our naming protocol, the Velarde House. And here are the 3 Mills Act conditions that are listed for the Commission's consideration. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation today, and the property owners are here if you have any questions.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Ani. That was excellent. Before I open it up to the property owners and one other speaker, do we have any questions for staff? Commissioner Durham.
Ani, I understand the importance of the architect, particularly being at the time, it's unusual to have a Chinese American in that profession. But are we designating him that we consider him a master architect or just significant in Southern California?
I think there's a little bit of a concern with the term master architect in general, and I think we've kind of touched upon this before, where what does that mean and what are the thresholds? Like certain cities may have like a master architect list. We don't have something like that. So we are acknowledging and recognizing Charles Wong's contributions and significance to the Southern California architectural landscape, and particularly for mid-century modern and post and beam architectural styles. And Jay, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, just in general, the field is moving away from the use of the term master architect. It's just not a word we're using these days if we're being woke. But but in general, we find, even when we know who the architects are, you have to do a significant amount of research to really place this work in the context of their body of work and then their place in the broader architectural world. I don't think we have enough information about Wong, to be honest, but when we avoided the word master, which used to be in our designation criteria, we transferred it into something that I'm still not happy with, but I think I may have, in my report, I may have alluded to some new idea that I can't think of right now. But basically, we have said that that his or her work has influenced the work of the profession, which pretty much raises the bar pretty high for someone to be personally, individually of significance as the architect under Criterion 3. But what we often do, we're so excited when we find architects and we can look at other works by them and find parallels and interesting points to make. We do want them to be acknowledged, and we want that to be part of it, and it would be on any plaque that is put on this house if you and council ultimately want this to be designated. So it's not something we don't want to acknowledge. I've had the opportunity to be in that Mount Vernon house at the top right. Amazing house. Maybe it is a work of genius, maybe, but it's within the realm of like a lot of great architects out of USC were doing this great work during the mid-century period. So that's a long way of saying probably not celebrating him individually under the criterion, but definitely want to acknowledge him.
Are all 4 of those Glendale houses? Those are all Glendale addresses?
No, they're all across. I think one of them is Brentwood.
Oh,
he
got
has
it.
one
Okay.
nearby, actually, I think, in like the that Trader Joe's Atwater area. I don't recall exactly what the address for that
Mount
one
Vernon
was.
House is in View Park,
Okay.
and it has an amazing view.
Any other questions for staff? Commissioner Head, did you have a question? Go ahead.
This is a little bit of trivia, and since we're talking about masters, Wong was a student of Gregory Ames at SC.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. So basically, the 1969 guest house, is that being treated as a compatible addition to the parcel? Because it's not connected to the main house, is it?
That's correct. It's not connected to the main house. It's kind of like an accessory, like living quarter. Or it's just another addition done, but it is done very thoughtfully and also integrated nicely into the slope too. So,
Right. And do we know who did that?
oh, I'm not. I don't think I have that information off the top of my head right now. It must. I think it might have just been an engineering firm that
Wow.
probably did that.
Yeah, I think we just don't know, like,
Don't
with so
know.
many
Okay.
other properties.
Yeah, I recall looking up permits, but I don't think it was in.
Pretty good,
Yeah.
good. They did a good job. You know, just maybe it's the same engineer who did that window at Mr. McIntyre's house.
But a lot of good work that around that time.
So the one great engineer. Did you find out anything about Velarde? Is Velarde's background, or what do we know about him? What's his background?
Born and raised in Los Angeles. Here I have his parents' names too, Jose and Ana Velarde. Really, I think a lot of the information focused was on his career and also the love of his life. That's why I think it's just
Okay,
so
the
sweet.
love of his life.
Yeah. But
We
yeah.
should develop a new criterion, I think.
Yeah, that's an
I-
Ani criteria.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
please, the cute
We
criterion.
always talk about criterion Q because the word cute is bandied about the office.
LOL
quite
doesn't mean
often.
laugh out. LOL means love of life now, not laugh out loud. So.
There you go, exactly. So, but yeah, he excelled in his career. Most of the information that we know is specifically for his law career in the Los Angeles County
And
area.
roughly, when was he born? I mean, do you remember?
1929, yeah. He was born November 1929.
Just curious. I mean, not that it matters directly for this, but it seems like, I mean, he was on the Superior Court judge.
Yeah, LA Superior Court, yeah.
So I'm wondering how many other like Latino judges there were by that time, if there were a lot, or if he was very early. It's just a thought.
I think he was one of the earlier ones. I know.
Don't say that.
Well, I'm not. Okay, I backtrack,
know.
but
Okay.
I
That's
don't
fine.
know. I know of at least one other, just because I'm friends
Okay.
with
Sure.
my friend's grandfather was also.
Sure.
a
You
judge
can
at
go
the-
back to the 1870s, the Casa Adobe de San Rafael, also the Sanchez Adobe, was the first sheriff of Los Angeles County, Mr. Sanchez. So,
Okay.
there's-
Of course, yes, yes.
So in that world,
In that world.
But that's the kind of thing, it's an interesting question, definitely. But again, similar to the architects,
Yeah.
we don't expect property owners to give us that depth
Yeah.
of research, and I don't even know
course
if it's
not.
possible, but.
Of course not.
But it's interesting.
Yeah.
Did we find out, when I went to look at this house, I noticed there was a lot of Olympics 5 rings in the gate, 5 rings in the floor. Do we know anything about what the background on that is, or where that came from, or why?
Owners, well, do you remember? Yeah.
We'll have you up in just a second, Ken, and you could tell us. Okay. Okay, I think all my other questions are answered for now. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions for staff before I open it up to the owners? Okay, so I have 2 speaker cards, and I'm going to have the owners come up first, and you just put your names as John and Graziana. If you could come up and say your last name too, that would be great. Thank you.
John Barker.
Okay,
Graziana Testa.
great, thank you. Okay.
A couple of interesting stories. When I first came to Glendale from London, I was amazed by I started working with Disney and was amazed by the mid-century modern houses. Actually toured that house on that particular historical when your house was opened up. So I remember that very well.
And so we, fell in love with modernism and post and beam and researched sort of Eichler houses and A. Quincy Jones houses. And when we were looking for a new house about 4 years ago, we came across this house and really fell in love with it, the whole style. We'd lived there for like 3 years. We kind of wanted to live in it for a while before deciding what to do. We were introduced to Jay.
Well, it was actually via the Historical Society because John Schwab Sims wrote a note of recommendation to the original realtors saying this is a house that should be on the historic register, and that started us on our quest. Really, that's very exciting. So we got in touch with Jay, and here we are.
Yeah.
And we're still trying
The
to
rest
find
may
out.
be history.
Yeah,
see.
yeah, really interesting. We're still digging and still trying to find out information. We actually found out, we unearthed a few new facts, which is really exciting, about the Olympic rings.
Yeah.
So Mr. Velarde was a notable collector of Olympic memorabilia. And he had quite the collection, apparently, and he's been written about, and I think the kids might have sold that.
Yeah, there was an auction, online
There's an
auction.
auction,
He used to
yeah.
collect the torches,
the
Olympic
torches,
torches from
yeah.
My gosh,
various...
well, check the attic. Maybe there's a...
Yeah, there's no attic.
Daniel. There's that. Post-it beams,
Unfortunately.
Darn it,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so his love of the Olympics and travelling with his wife, and we found out a little bit more about him, and he had a saying, it's quite the ride,
That
was
was
his
his saying,
saying,
yeah.
around the world.
And we found out, it was kind of weird because we'd done a ton of research, and then just by chance we unearthed a PDF from the Smithsonian where there was some research from various scholars about various American, Asian, and American Southeast Asian architects, and one was on there. And on there, in one of the in the spreadsheet, it had details for his son, who has a collection of Wong plans and various things.
Oh.
So we're like, let's look him up. Find him on LinkedIn. Turns out John used to play golf with him.
Yeah, it's actually his grandson. So
Grandson, sorry.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So he's now got the archive. He
wonderful.
has the archive of his grandfather, and so he's showed us photographs of it. It's in storage at the moment. So he's going through that. He's been through it the last couple of days to try and find the original plans. We've not been able to locate those yet, but
he sent us photos of all the archive, of the vaults of plans. So he's going to do his best to go through.
which is quite fascinating.
Cool.
If he's interested in donating it, let me know. We have connections to people who know the various architectural archives, both in town and other places. And A, it's sometimes a tax deduction if that's important to him, but B, put it in a place where it's useful for scholars and researchers.
Yeah.
We'll let him know.
Yeah,
I mean, we were texting just before we came here, I'm sure, because he did work for the firm for, I think, 5 or 10 years, or anyway, a good length of time, and he adores his grandfather. There's a big family group, and everyone loves Grandad Wong, so I think he'd be very interested in preserving the memory. I think we've probably taken more than 5 minutes.
Yeah. The other
Suffice
thing,
to say, we're very enthusiastic.
Okay.
and the other things that we just wanted to add is, over the years they were the original owners. I think they made some changes, probably changes to do with their lifestyle, and
Yeah.
we're going to restore the house.
So we do have some photos of some stuff.
So we'd like to kind of consider the stairs in a sort of concrete type of original concrete type style. That we've done some research on some of the books
Okay.
that we've kind of looked towards.
Great. Can I give them another 3 minutes? I heard a little bell go off.
And
Sorry, I didn't tell you 5 minutes, but I'll give you another few minutes.
And then the others agree on the modern lighting. We've tried to look at sconces which would match the original.
Are these early pictures of the house?
No, these are just from a reference, A. Quincy Jones book that I've got, that I kind of looked through, just to sort of look at things that might have been.
Are those for us to keep?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, and,
Okay, well, we'll pass those around, and while we're doing that, I'm going to have all of the other speakers speak. Anything else you want to say right now?
It was-
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have one other speaker on this item, and that's, it looks like is it Patrick Muzzolin? Did I get that right? The writing's a little. Massey. Okay, Massey. Thank you.
Commissioner Paul and members of the Historic Preservation Committee and Commission, this is an absolute amazing property. I had the wonderful opportunity to actually walk inside this house twice, 2.5 years ago. I live in the neighborhood, by the way, and I was so impressed when this came up on Zillow that I actually notified all the board members of the Vertigo Woodlands to join me on that open house. I went in there once. I was totally struck by the beauty of this design. The floor-to-ceiling windows, the way the light comes into the house is amazing. I'm sure some of you have seen it. The previous owners had done, obviously the original owners, had done a great job maintaining this house. I did not see any major changes. By the way, that back addition, you cannot even tell that it's been added later on. I had no clue that the laundry room was also added later on. It's done in a wonderful way. I had to come home, get my wife, and say, you need to see this house. That's how impressed I was. So we went back and looked at it again. And I'm very happy that this city is now going to consider this as a Mills Act house. I want to thank also Steve Villarano, one of our board members, who actually notified us that this is coming up. I had no clue that this was coming up for Mills Act. Steve is known as our Mills Act guru in the neighborhood. So I hope tonight you will vote for this. And again, that metal cap that you guys brought up is also for fire safety too. So I'm sure the owners will have no problem adding that. But overall, it's an amazing house. By the way, Charles Wang was a first-generation American, Chinese-American, and he's done hundreds and hundreds of homes in Southern California and also non-residential too. So I know you guys are going back and forth with the master designation or non-master, but it doesn't matter. The man was amazing. We lost him in 2019, unfortunately. I wish he was alive and he was here today to explain this incredible design. So with that, I would like to say, I do support this. And also, I've heard so many good things from our board members at the Woodlands about this incredible house. And hopefully we'll move forward. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to.
Daniel, we
Yes.
do also have one more speaker. I think maybe the card got lost, but I think
It's just the one card for two
yeah.
items, probably.
Yeah, so Simon.
Just Simon.
Simon Wright. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't see, well, you want to speak on it? Go for it. Just saw the one.
My name
there
is
it is. Yes,
Simon
my
Wright.
bad. It's there. It's there. Okay, I just.
Simon Wright again from the Glendale Historical Society. So it feels like the British are coming in your 250th anniversary. We're here to spoil the party, but we're not going to set fire to anything again. I just wanted to reiterate that the Glendale Historical Society supports staff's recommendations to the Commission, that it is recommended that to City Council that 1437 Hillside Drive be listed on the Glendale Register of Historic Resources as the Velarde House, and subject to the proposed Mills Act conditions. As is apparent from the application that you have before you, TGHS has been aware of this home for several years, and our former president did indeed write to the realtor and flag that this was a house that had the potential to be on the register. I think he went perhaps a step too far and decided that it should be on the register. But we think that it is a terrific example of modern architecture by a fairly renowned architect. And we're not aware that Charles Wang has done any other residential work in Glendale. I have been inside the Linnell residence, which has a lot of presence online, and it's terrific. So I would very much like to be inside this house, but that's irrelevant for the purposes of this pitch. We are really grateful to the homeowners that clearly are very passionate about this house and want to restore it to its grandeur. And we would be delighted if they opened it up to a Glendale modern home tour in the future. So again, thank you very much to the homeowners, and I'd like to thank staff again for an excellent and clear report. and of course you for the work that you do to preserve architecture in Glendale. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, now I think I'm going to be closing the public hearing for Reels. And any thoughts from my fellow commissioners here on this house? Commissioner Head?
Sure. So, I'm going to start with the tiles. There are a lot of tiles, and you know, I saw the photocopies here of lighting suggestions or recommendations, as well as some concrete ideas. And there's just so much tile, and I think part of the concern is assuming concrete, and you know, we can talk about aggregate or you know some patterned concrete, is to avoid having it be just continue this sort of massive space that's just filled with concrete. So I'm glad to see that there was an example of redwood breaking up the concrete, and you know, there are lots of references and things for doing that. But I think it's important to really think about how that space, how the patio space with tiles now is, how to address that without it being just instead of tile, just all aggregate. So my suggestion is to talk about ways to break it up, and possibly to mirror the geometry of the house in the pattern, in the segments, or the way that the concrete is broken up. And also the stairs, and I like the AQ stairs that are solid, but I also feel like the patio and the stairs can't all be aggregate. So I think there's going to be some consideration or discussion with us about what sort of options we can suggest. And also, as a segue into lighting, is wondering about lighting the stairs. And then, of course, the lighting fixture that's near the front door, and there's a nice bullet sconce, which I think is appropriate. And without jumping around too much, as far as that beam goes, I think that doing a beam cap on that is essential. And there's talked about lighting, the sconce. I think that's it. I think the big thing for me is what to do about the tiles.
What do you think about the concrete with the rocks? Because I think it's that blend of concrete with bigger rocks that's kind of, I think, within the modern. I think the other house had it too.
Oh, instead of just a small pebble aggregate, is to go with larger.
Oh no, just like kind of smaller rocks, but it's not a flat concrete modern kind of. New
I think I would be fine with that too. I think there's all sorts of creative choices here. It doesn't all have to be concrete or patterned concrete panels. I mean, you could also do or think about doing redwood rounds and doing diamondia between them, or something to break it up and to give it some life. So it's just not all concrete.
What was the word? Diamondia? What's
Yeah, diamondia. It's a ground cover, and it it grows about maybe 2 inches high. You don't have to trim it. You don't have, I mean, you can trim it around tiles and things, but it doesn't require. It's also called silver carpet.
Yeah, we're looking at a picture now.
Yeah.
And you're talking about that for the deck and the stairs?
Yeah, as a way to break up the concrete or whatever.
Those aren't in the ground.
Yeah, they don't need much dirt.
No, I'm just thinking moisture. I assume they need water?
They're drought tolerant.
No, but I'm looking at this, I'm just trying to picture like watering a deck rather than watering a lawn.
Yeah.
It's kind of unusual. Just, but I didn't even know what it was, so now I know. So
Maybe a drip.
I was also almost thinking the material that were on the steps of the other house that we looked at today, that it was kind of little rocks with concrete, creating some texture. True to the time. I don't know what that's called. So.
pebble aggregate.
Ani, could you bring up the picture of the deck with the sliding glass door? I think there was a pretty good picture of.
Wait a minute. Sorry, I don't know why it's lagging. Oh,
There you
is
go.
it this one?
Okay. Yeah, because I agree with Commissioner Head. That's a 185 square foot deck, so it is quite large, and you wouldn't want just some solid surface, I think. So I do agree with his comment.
Do we know, Jay, you had mentioned you had been to at least one of these other houses, or I mean, maybe it's a question for the property owners, but do we know how Wong handled other decks like this? If there's any recollection of that?
No.
Do you know? Okay, we don't know offhand. Okay, Commissioner Head.
So, thinking about the other Wong houses, there is a potential that there's references or details in the archive through the grandson that may reveal what was there originally or what was intended.
Yeah, that's true. We found there's an archive, and it might be. Jay, do we have the option of revisiting this once they look through the archive? Because
No.
presumably those answers are gonna.
You have the option generally of leaving it to staff with your direction.
Okay.
So if your direction is to not do something overly monolithic, like a full-on 185 square feet of aggregate pebble surface, we would put that in our notes. We would, that would be in the record. We were just like, these houses used a lot of wood, and the one thing I know about the house in View Park is it has these things, these kind of floating cantilevered walkways around the perimeter of the house that I think are called ingawa in Japanese. And those are wood slat things that are directly adjacent to the house. So, and again, with fire stuff, is wood the right answer? There aren't any really great surrogate wood decking materials that I'm familiar with that wouldn't look like plasticky Trex, whatever. So, Ani just found something at one of Wong's houses that had a kind of a mosaic tile, but just 1-inch square mosaics, and that was more of a decorative feature near the entrance. I doubt that would be used consistently, and it wouldn't weather that well, is my guess. Concrete is used a lot.
Yeah,
for,
and
for decking.
I was going to say on regarding the concrete, if I agree with Jay. I mean, a lot of houses from this era would have simple concrete decks, right? I mean, sometimes that with some of these mid-century modern houses, sometimes you do have like swaths of concrete. I don't think we should necessarily go out of our way to encourage that, but if I would say, if either the archive or other Wong houses, if that's how he handled it on those, I would encourage following that here. If there's a precedent for it in other Wong works, or if the papers, if you don't have if all the papers are not revealed for this particular house, a lot of times architects would not all the time, it's not guaranteed, but often they would use this, they would defer to the same solutions for certain design details among different houses. So I guess for me, I'm very curious to see what the archive yields. The fact that there's an archive out there that we know exists and hasn't really been looked through yet, I think is really exciting, and I think it could yield a little more clarity on this matter. Personally, I'm not against full-on concrete, but only if there's a precedent for it. And
Well, let me just throw, this image that we're still looking at is on top of the addition. It's the roof of the addition. So concrete is probably not the material to use there.
so
We could differentiate between, so I can't even say that this tile doesn't date to the time of that addition being built. So we have two separate areas. We have the entry deck and stairs, and then we have this back deck to think about as possible different solutions.
So this is an addition, this deck.
So over
Okay, my apologies, I didn't catch
The
that.
deck is not an addition. There is an addition underneath the deck, right?
Well, this is the roof of that addition, basically. So
Right.
the deck sort of is part of that addition.
There's a whole other addition
I thought-
that's like a second
It's not
house.
the guest house. This is.
Another addition.
Ani, if you
Well, I
could-
thought Ani explained it that the deck was the roof was already there and they just built the unit underneath it.
It's kind of half and half.
Yeah.
Part of the addition, those windows are in what was originally the main body of the house. It was just void space underneath
This
the
area.
first floor, the main level. And then the part extending where you see the railing, that is the addition.
I see.
And so
Yeah.
that deck is the roof of that part of
It's
the
an
addition.
L- is
It's
that an L-
it's one room conjoined underneath.
Misunderstood, yeah.
So it's like tucked underneath it and then kind of extended out. So you really only, your visible portion of whatever was added when you're standing at the single is just the deck. So-
It's a good image to see that there are the two different
Yeah.
conditions that we may treat differently.
And
If
then
we
there's-
were to, support this, presuming this gets supported and moves forward with the Mills Act, can they use the Mills Act, even though that deck is a later addition, can they use the Mills Act toward refining the cover of that deck, if that, is that an option for
Well,
them?
you can put a condition on anything, even if it's an addition to the
Okay.
property. Now, looking at the lower deck, I wonder if part of the problem here is that we're looking at orangey terracotta colored tiles that just don't feel right here. If they went with 1-by-1 grouted concrete tiles, which would have a geometric pattern that you can discuss the module or whatever, that could be a simple, clean solution that wouldn't be a monolithic concrete solution because you'd have the joint lines between each paver. And that they could make watertight pretty easily. And they might have to remove the rails, do that, and then bring the rails back or something like that. That's the kind of stuff you work out with the contractor. You could, Daniel will call you guys to come
I'll call you up in just a moment. Yeah.
So that's one thing that comes to mind as an option, and that could work also on the stair treads.
And speaking of stair treads, Commissioner Cusack, did you have something you were showing me something a moment ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is Commissioner Bartanian's idea, is the material that is used in the Conway House on those front steps. It's a concrete with like the little stones in it.
Pebble dash almost.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a really nice material. It seems like could be an option.
It sounded like some of your colleagues didn't want, because that's that aggregate pebble kind of thing, but I think that's a period-appropriate solution, definitely.
And the other thing, I think from what I recall when I was walking around this house, on the far end, kind of the back end of the house, not the rear, but like I guess it would be the north side where the chimney is, there was concrete there that had a scored pattern, right? So it was like simple poured concrete, but it had just like a scored pattern. I don't know off the top of my head if that's original, if that's from the period of significance, or if that's from 10 years ago. But I remember noticing the scoring pattern, and I liked it, and it seemed compatible. So it was poured in place concrete with or almost like a scored or a raked pattern to it, and that might be an efficient solution for it. Maybe not all the parts that need to be covered, but maybe some of it. And you certainly saw that in the mid-century modern era.
We're looking at a Wong house right now that Ani may be trying to show you guys that has, on the exterior perimeter patio, has terrazzo panels that are like 3 by 3, it looks like,
Wow, beautiful.
2.5 by 2.5. And that certainly looks good. Terrazzo is difficult in exterior situations,
Yeah.
so I'm not
Yeah.
positive that's a good idea.
So I really like this, of course. Aside from putting aside the cost, there is epoxy terrazzo,
Okay.
which could be a nice, really simple solution. And even more simpler is Pebble Tech.
I don't know that.
Well, the epoxy, yeah, that's poured, but it's not in the traditional method.
It's a monolithic surface.
Yeah, but you
It's
could
very
still,
poisonous to the universe, but my mechanic put it in their floor in their office area, and they were out for days because the
Oh, the
fumes,
off-gassing.
and
Yeah.
Really?
stuff. But that's beside the point.
Yeah.
What I would recommend now, because I don't think it's our job right now to solve this design issue, but I think to give guidance, and what I've heard so far, if you're okay, is that some sort of period-appropriate solution that doesn't draw, and this is maybe my editorial, doesn't draw too much attention to itself, that kind of backgrounds out and blends in. And we've talked about tiles, we've talked about pebble aggregate, and both of these decks are above other surfaces, so the question is, what is the structural load, what is all of that? But all of that, Graziana and John will be hiring a contractor or an engineer who are gonna figure out that kind of stuff. And our job will be to guide them to follow your broad guidance when we're considering specific material situations. It sounds like you're not interested in synthetic wood decking or wood decking. I don't know that we should be recommending that these days, although that seems like a logical. There are also those little wood kind of tiles that people put on roofs and decks sometimes that actually look okay. They're just kind of interlocking. They're reversible, which is good for us because they're sitting on top of whatever's underneath. Not always the best looking. I'm not sure that's the best looking thing. It's often a parquet configuration, which might be too busy for this. But if you can craft a condition that's broadly drawn but still gives your aesthetic guidance, I think that would be the most useful way to go. And there's no rule that we can't bring something back. We don't want to put in a Mills Act condition that this needs to return. We never have. I don't know that it's impossible. It doesn't seem advisable because God knows when it's going to happen and we're giving them a timeline. But I think I think between us and staff who with preservation training in general, we're going to know, what looks right and what doesn't look right.
I would like to reopen it to you. I think you wanted to come back up, and thank you, Jay. Sure, no, that's okay. I'll give you five minutes.
Quickly looking at this from the little house.
Graziana, you
You
need to
just
stay
speak
at the
into the microphone.
I was just looking at this from the little house, which has a combination of brick and a kind of aggregate, which looks really good and breaks up the space.
Do you want to pass us your phone while you're talking?
Not talking, you can show them the phone. Yeah.
Here, we'll be safe with your phone, I promise.
Okay.
And then if you want to narrate what you're seeing, okay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point out how they've quite nice, I imagine that's original, and we've got half brick, half aggregate, tile and slab, and some gravel, I think. I'm not sure whether gravel would work on either of those spaces, but I think the aggregate and the brick could. Just an option.
Yeah, that's great.
Just ideas. That's
Okay.
from the little house, the
And
Wong
this would be
house.
for the back deck that now has the diamond tile on it? Is that what you're
Yeah,
thinking?
possibly. Just something the idea of breaking it up.
Can you pass that to Jay when you're done, Jeff?
Just one idea of how it
Yeah,
could be broken
yeah.
up.
Yeah, interesting. I think, that's an interesting, it's beautiful. It's a good suggestion. I don't know, I guess this is where the fact that I'm not an architect becomes a problem. I don't know if there's a weight,
Looking at the same picture.
load, if they found, would there be any sort of load problem with brick on a deck like that?
Well,
or-
the problem with this is these are both roof surfaces. These
Yeah.
aren't on the ground. That's on the
Yeah.
ground. Brick is going to be 2.5 inches thick. You're going to have problems with the riser heights, with the steps coming down. If you're increasing the height of the deck, then you have to rebuild the whole stairway.
Yeah.
There are brick tiles that are brick looking. It's a veneer. I don't know if that's an ideal solution for a walking surface that may be on a less than perfectly stable substrate, but,
I think that, go ahead. Did you have a thought, Commissioner?
I was just going to say how beautiful that is with all the
is.
different materials.
It is really beautiful. I guess my thought, and maybe somebody else can draft the motion, but I guess my thought would be I think this is one where I would be happy to let them, as Jay mentioned earlier, let them take this up with staff once they review the archive and see if you find out anything more. I think that it's a little bit. It feels, for some reason, to me, a little bit premature to just drill this down too specifically right now. There's a lot of good options, but I really want to see what you find in that archive first.
Yeah, and we have written conditions like that before, where we've asked people, a house in Rossmoyne, we asked them to research, physical investigative research and any archival, was there brick at the base of the house? It turns out we couldn't find anything, or the owner couldn't find anything, and we checked his sources and thought, okay, we don't know. But I think that's a good way to think of this, the property owner will research to determine if the original drawings exist, and if they do they show what these materials were? If they do, then we will restore that condition. If they don't, or we can't find the drawings, then we will do something that's period appropriate, that takes into account the subsurface conditions and whatever else, something like that.
I'd also like to suggest that, as far as the timeline goes, that we allow sufficient time.
Yeah, we've 2 and 3 years. 2 years might be enough, but that's a
3
common
years.
timeline.
Yep.
2 or 3. Is that the only condition? Or the light fixture is easy
Yeah,
and?
we have, the light, let me go back to the last page. That'll show, I think we have 3 conditions. So the light fixtures, the decking, one light fixture, not plural. And then the final one is for the metal cap.
So, and we've also split the timing. We've said the metal cap and the light fixture within 1 year, the deck within 2 years, or even 3 years would be fine. And we track those things so that we monitor over time to keep everyone honest, basically.
And sorry, can you tell me again what's going on with the metal? Can you show the picture of the metal cap again? So this has a metal cap on it now, or it needs a metal cap?
And so where the red rectangle is, that needs a metal cap. All the other ones, if you can kind of see, especially here, there's a shadow line that kind of shows that there's a protective
Okay.
metal cap over it. That central one does not have one.
So then it's almost like flashing, right? Is that what?
Yeah, it's,
And then just that it'll be done compatibly. Oh,
yeah, it's a
okay.
pretty classic thing to do
Yeah.
on extended rafter tails and things like this.
Are we adding any conditions to? Not that we necessarily should, but what about the drive? Are we assuming the driveway's probably later with all the Olympic stuff? I mean, are we adding any conditions to change out any of that, or is that going to stay?
Well, I think the Olympic connection may be
Kinda like
interesting
it.
in its own right. So
Yeah.
You don't want to change it, so.
I like the Olympic rings. I think the brick on it's a little bit funky, but the Olympic rings kind of make up for it, and especially now with what we know.
Yeah. I'm not going to say it's historic, but
Yeah.
if we don't need to throw it in the dump,
Okay.
why should we?
Commissioner Durham?
I think, to me, are those paving stones? It looked fairly contemporary to me, the driveway coming up,
Recent pavers.
and I don't have a problem with it. at least that'll be a different material than
There you
what
go.
goes on the stairs and the deck. So otherwise, we're creating that issue.
Yeah.
So, and that is a long driveway
It
up
sure
to the
is.
flag lot, and that would be
Yeah.
a huge expense.
Yeah. Your whole-
So-
Commission has had issues with paver driveways, and we tell people no, in general, in historic districts. This is a little bit different, and I think the Olympic connection may be the thing we can stand on to kind of deviate from precedent, maybe. So,
And it's unusual because it's a flag lot, so that's such a long driveway up the hill.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I think for the period, like poured concrete is usually preferable to pavers.
generally, it's poured concrete, yeah.
Can I ask the owners, can you come up for just a quick question? It'll be very fast. What are your thoughts on the driveway? Are you okay with the driveway?
Yeah, the driveway's in really good condition. It
Okay.
irrigates really well.
Yeah.
It's actually the color and everything. While it's not super contemporary, you just look at the house as soon as you go around the corner. So
Okay.
really, sort of,
Yeah,
it doesn't offend.
Great.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
I have a question for you. How is the lighting in the front around the stairs? Are the stairs lit?
They're not.
They're not, but
No.
that wouldn't be a bad idea to actually have some lighting in there.
Having said that, the carport has a light fixture that does shine towards the stairs, so they do have some illumination, but they're not lit themselves. But I liked your idea of putting some lighting on the stairs.
Yeah, but you do get quite a bit of light, obviously, from the front room anyway, if there's someone in the house.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to ask them a question. Are you finished? So lighting, I don't mean to change the subject, but on the light that we're going to recommend changing, are you considering matching it to the lights across the way?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
I think that probably
that.
referenced the original building, so that's kind of sconce type lighting is
Bullet
what we've been looking
sconce.
for.
Okay.
Yeah.
great. Oh, and just so I'm clear, I could have asked staff too, but since you're up here, the laundry addition's hidden from the street, right?
Yes,
It's
you
kind of
can't
tucked
see it.
away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else to discuss, or do I have a motion?
Just
Commissioner
going,
Head.
yeah, just going back to the lighting on the stairs, is that something that we could stipulate or recommend, or because the stairs are going to, I'm assuming at some point the material on the stairs is going to change, and I just wonder if that is the time, or if that's the place to light.
Commissioner Head, are you thinking about lighting that would be built into the risers? Or on the wall above the stair? Or, I'm just trying to understand where you think it should be
I was
placed.
thinking along the risers, but, there's that rail, and I guess I'm just wondering about lighting in general. I think the stairs should be lit in one way or another, whether it's within the risers or running lights on the rail or on the side at the bottom of the rail.
As a rule, the commission doesn't do additive, non-historic stuff like that, or
Okay.
presume there are safety issues when people have been living in this house for who knows, well, we know how long, and didn't have it lit. Now, I always, riser lighting is, and here I will use the word contemporary, it's a very contemporary thing. It's super popular right now, and we have people remove it when they do it in historic district settings. So I don't think we'd want to do it here, certainly. Now, that wall next to the stair, if someone came in and said, hey, we have a safety issue, we want more light here, we'd like to put a light on that stucco wall right above the wedge there. That's the kind of thing at staff level we'd probably be comfortable doing, even on a Millsack property, if we're addressing concerns for safety and finding the right design, which could be similar to whatever the bullet light that we're going to be putting near the entrance, putting another light there. If John and Graziano wanted that, why not? But yeah, and same with the railing light, that's another non-historic kind of solution, so.
Forgive me for being a little confused here, but on this picture, which deck is the addition and which is original? That stairway is part of the original, the main entrance is up there, right?
Right, so stairway is original. This little area that you can see my cursor circling is the original deck.
Okay.
We can't really see the deck addition from
Got
this
it.
angle.
Okay, I see, okay. And that area that's original with the wood balustrade, is that the area with the pink diamond ceramic tile floor in it, or is that not?
Yeah, all of them are, so it's, yeah.
Oh, they're
The
both are, okay.
stairs, this area, and then whatever is in the back
Okay.
that is not visible from
So
here.
that stairway is an original, it'd be, again, when the research is done in the archive, there may have been some sort of light against that wall, I'd be curious to see.
Well, we see there is that light, there's a light on
Oh,
the
here.
soffit
Oh, right there.
There.
I see, there is a light.
So that would
Very
be, I
Yeah.
don't want to steal from the,
It pre-exists.
from, what's the, from the Ennis House, not the Ennis House, what's Neutra's, the
Lovell?
Health House, the Lovell House. But you could take the same round fixture and put it on the wall also, so that you at least have some connection between those two and bring some light to that area in a fairly subtle way. But
Okay, great.
not an auto headlamp, but a little round light, yeah, so.
Okay,
Von Sternberg House.
all right.
Right.
Do I have a motion?
Before
ahead.
the motion, perhaps let me just read back the conditions, because there was a little bit of discussion, so that we can make sure we're all kind of on the same page. So, the Mills Act condition is a little bit general. Let me go back. So we did talk about allowing the property owners to review it with staff once the archive is reviewed to find out if there is anything more. So if commission is comfortable with this wording of the condition, we can use this or come up with an alternate wording that kind of reflects the conversation that was had today. The second is replace the light fixture at the entry with one that is more compatible with the style of the house. Perhaps for this one, based off of the conversation, we can say that the light shall match, or the light should match the round fixture at the bottom of the stairs. And attaching a metal cap to the top of the central pergola beam, that's pretty straightforward. I don't think there's any need for any revisions on that one.
Okay, Commissioner Durham?
Honey, I have a question. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I thought there were I remember the light fixture at the front entry. Wasn't there a similar light fixture on the deck, addition that were?
Yeah.
Go back. That one, right here, this,
That's the guest house.
sorry. My bad. Let me go back.
I thought I saw two of them, but I could be wrong.
I think,
Oh.
the guest house.
Those
Yes.
pill-shaped ones?
There is
I thought the one on I thought the ones,
yeah,
and is that,
yes, right
that's
here.
the same,
Good.
right? So
Thank
I
you
would
so
want
much,
both
yes.
of those to
Yeah.
be in the condition.
So we should definitely rephrase that condition to include both of them instead of just one. I apologize for the oversight.
No problem. It's easy. I wasn't even sure if I imagined it.
I'm going to recommend some language for the first condition about the decking. Owner to review Wong archive. If original condition of the stairs and horizontal decks or the decking is indicated, restore those features back to that. Now, we never know, looking at drawings, if that's actually what was built. So there's a little speculation there. If you're comfortable with that, I think we're probably okay. If the original condition isn't depicted, replace the decking with new materials that are appropriate to the period, but avoid being overly monolithic. So there will be some modules, some breakdown. Modules are key to post and beam construction, so we would hopefully kind of tie into that somehow. And is that reasonable?
Yep.
Okay. So when you make your motion, you could say, condition 1 will be as Mr. Platt just indicated, so.
Jay, could you reread just the first portion of that?
The owner is to attempt to review the Wong archive. If materials for this house are included and the original condition of these features, I'm making this up again now, and the original features are indicated, restore them back to that period shown on the drawings. If not, we'll replace it with appropriate non-monolithic.
I guess I was asking because I heard deck. I wasn't sure I heard stairs
Yeah,
and
I
deck.
probably
but-
forgot to say stairs, treads and decking, horizontal surfaces, whatever it'll be.
And
And that could lead to, oh, maybe that railing's not what was shown. And we, at staff level, we'd be able to work that out with Graziano and John, so.
what about the possibility, like, let's say they go and they do they go into the archive and they find the original drawings for this house, maybe even some original photographs, and there are other details that we haven't discussed today that they would like to bring back. Can we put in a condition that they work with staff to bring those back?
What we would do is staff would have to use our judgment. If this is a Mills Act property, like I said, despite the initial discussion tonight, the threshold is relatively low for us to just make staff level approvals for Mills Act properties. So when we actually have the opportunity to review things, I should say, we would probably bring that back to the commission.
Okay.
So,
And then just to add on to that, I think my concern with some of those things is you never know if it was just something that was decided to be omitted, and then we're kind of adding a conjectural feature that was not meant to be there.
That's an interesting point.
they may look at the drawings and say, whoa, we need to tear this mother down and build what was shown on these drawings. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it was originally a pink and beige stucco Mediterranean. So,
Show the plans.
and are you leaving? See you later. Bye. Bye. Congratulations.
Thank you
Okay, okay. Bye.
Pleasure to meet you all.
You too.
Okay.
Thank you for the tour.
Congratulations.
Bye.
We'll be in
Bye.
touch.
Are we, and I'm pretty sure we know the answers, but I just got to ask because the pictures aren't perfectly clear. Are we totally certain that those two black light fixtures are recent?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right.
They're spreading like a fungus
Oh,
through
they're
our
like a Home
historic.
Depot special, okay.
I've seen them at the Deep, so.
Okay, all right. All right, do I have a motion now?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
And, sorry, just one more interruption, Commissioner Durham, just to confirm about the timelines that we're giving. So for condition 2 and 3, the light fixture and the metal cap, we're giving a timeline of 1 year. And for condition 1, which is the arguably the more complicated one, did we decide on 2 or 3 years? 3 years. Great, thank you so much.
I move that this commission recommend to City Council that the property at 1437 Hillside Drive be listed in the Glendale Register of Historic Resources to be known as the Verlaire House because it appears to be eligible under Criterion 3 as a distinctive and exemplary example of mid-20th century modern architectural style, and as a work by the notable architect Charles W. Wong, AIA. I also move that this committee recommend to City Council that they authorize the city manager to enter into a Mills Act contract with the property owners, including the 3 conditions noted in this meeting, including Mr. Platt's redrafted condition number 1 regarding stairs and decking.
Okay. And so does that motion that you made, did that cover the other 2 parts, or did you just mention Platt's first motion? Regarding the light fixtures and metal cap?
Let me repeat. I move that this commission also recommends to City Council that they authorize the city manager to enter into a Mills Act contract with the property owners, including all conditions noted in this meeting, including Mr. Platt's redrafted condition number 1.
All right, wonderful, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Commissioner Head,
Yes.
Commissioner Vartanian,
Yes.
Commissioner Cusack,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jerome,
Yes.
and Chair Paul.
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you so much.
Congratulations on you
That was
again.
rare. You don't usually get the applause from the dais, so savor this moment. So.
Well, I mean, it's, again, just kind of like, we had two really fantastic houses today, and, you have a beautiful place, and it was really wonderful to hear what your plans are, and your sort of excitement around it is really a wonderful thing. Thank you. Okay. Okay. All right. All righty. So we are closing agenda item 7B, and we're going to go on to agenda item 8, Community Development Department updates.
Thank you so much. Oh. There you go.
Bye.
Can we do a bathroom break before this?
Huh?
Can we do a bathroom break before we do?
Oh,
Maybe I'll go to the
we have
French house.
we have a
or something.
request, but we have a request for let's take a 5-minute restroom break. Can we take a 5-minute break right now?
This is going to be like 30 seconds.
It's
Okay.
it's very
that's
quick.
okay. Sorry. go ahead.
I didn't
Right.
know how
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, it's not long. We don't even, we're just gonna mention it. So we do have the Cleveland Knoll the next community forum and HPC hearing coming up in May. So just keep that in mind. We are working on that. We're going to be sending the notices out to the community shortly. That's going to be on May 21st.
Now, it's critical, since two of you are going to have to recuse yourselves, it is critical before we mail this to the public, if you guys could check your calendars maybe even tonight, because it's May 20,
Let me double check the date over here. It is May 21st, but because of the nature of this kind of hearing, it's solely going to focus on the historic district, as well as it utilizing our new streamlined process where we're going to have the community forum and the HPC hearing together. I am going to try to get the public noticing out, all of this out to the public much sooner than we usually do.
no.
No?
Well, we usually want to, it'll be normal, yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind. It's going to be normal.
Well, close to, yes,
Maybe I'm just
Quick
looking at my own
question.
personal calendar.
yeah.
I
Question.
won't be here.
No, I know, but we try to get it. yeah,
Okay,
it's- that's fine.
Commissioner Durham, then Commissioner Cusack.
Thank you. Ani and Jay, does that mean that the survey for the Cleveland Knoll District is now complete and has been reviewed, or is that still, where does?
You will be reviewing, well, you won't, but your colleagues will be reviewing the draft of the survey and the draft of the survey of the individual property DPR forms.
Okay,
So we've looked at that, we've reviewed it, we've provided a few limited comments, we're in pretty good shape. And so this will be the debut, and this is the opportunity for property owners, sorry, Lisa, it's the opportunity for property owners to kind of listen and make comments, and if they find errors or have questions, we're going to be answering all that. So.
thank you. And as a resident, I can sit in the audience and attend? And
We were going to, because we're not sure, the community meeting's different than the HPC hearing, so I think you can sit in the audience for both, but we're going to just double check on that because we haven't done this
please,
that often.
I'd like to attend if I'm able to.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, that was my question. If we could come and sit in the
Yeah,
audience.
we'll just check with city attorney and make sure. I have a memory of one commissioner sitting in the audience once for an item that they were, usually when you're recused, you're out of the room. So I think you'll definitely be out of the room for the HPC hearing, but for the community forum, it might be just fine to be here, so.
Okay, all right, you have your question answered? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn, 7:40 PM. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Second, all right, meeting finished. Thank you.
you've been living in. Can you see it? 'Cause I see it. Windows down, going 85. I look over and catch your eye. Can you feel it? 'Cause I feel it. There's a rush of blood when you go this fast. When you're up against it, I got your back. They say that good things just don't last, but I'll say this: every little fork in the road, never feel my hand letting go. If I did, you know I'm running back. You and me, we got a love like two names on a tree. Sure as every breath that you breathe. Every beat is like a heart attack. You and me, we got a love like that. Love like that. Like that one thing that won't ever change. When I lose my head, you say my name when I need it. Yeah, I need it. 'Cause we got this thing that I can't describe. Like I fell for you in another life, and I'd fall again 1,000 times. And I mean it, yeah, I mean it. Every little fork in the road, never feel my hand letting go. If I did, you know I'm running back. You and me, we got a love like two names on a tree. Sure as every breath that you breathe. Every beat is like a heart attack. You and me, we got a love like that. Love like that. You and me, we got a love like that. Yeah, if you keep